Part 2 of my personal advent calendar, Memories of Childhood Christmases. In Part 1, I told you about our family tradition of calling all surprise presents hush-hushes, and now I carry on in Part 2. Of course, it wasn't just my mother who would make hush-hushes. We would do that too if we could. Bookmarks made out of spare pieces of Rexine were popular. Rexine was artificial leather, forerunner of vinyl. Needle cases made from 2 scraps of fabric sewn together to make a little book. Tray cloths embroidered with daisy-chain flowers. Tea cosies, pencil cases. We were very inventive. We would make little weaving looms out of pieces of card with slots at either end, wind wool around the slots to make a basic up and down pattern of lines, then weave wool back and forth. The aim was to keep the edges straight and parallel rather than making an hourglass shape, although we seldom succeeded. These little woolen pieces would theoretically be given as potholders to grandparents, although we saw them so rarely that in practice my mother ended up with them. Either that, or we would keep them as little blankets for tiny dolls. We would also try to make a long cylindrical piece of knitting using a cotton reel and 4 nails or tacks. This was French knitting. The idea was to make a long enough piece to wind round and round and make a circular mat to be used as a teapot stand, but we rarely produced enough to do that. French knitting was a fun but time-consuming process. We usually got bored long before we'd produced anything substantial. Martin spent many hours knitting a scarf for Janet's Willie, her large Cupid doll. I don't know if he ever finished it. The number of stitches decreased as he dropped them, then grew again as he picked up random pieces of wool in his creation, and it was the holiest scarf I've ever seen. But he certainly joined in with the rest of us and tried.